Last week I was asked to give a reflection, and I told my favorite story of Pasanno, and after telling that story I realized that there was another story that I had kind of forgotten about that I like equally as much. So this morning I would like to tell my other favorite story of Pasanno. And this is a story that also really moved me and inspired me very much in the same way as the story that I told last time. And this particular story happened in Thailand a number of years ago when I was living there, and as people might know, every year in January at Wat Papong, Ajahn home monastery, there's a very large gathering in memory of Luang Por-Cha's life and his teachings, and commemorating his passing away. And very large numbers of monks and lay people will come together, oftentimes for about a week in the monastery there, and oftentimes there will be many, many hundreds of monks, possibly even, not sure, more than 1,000 or so, and many thousands of lay people, and it's really like a kind of a Woodstock level event where there's just incredible crowds of people, and a lot of them are actually staying in the monastery. But it's an extremely wholesome event, and the whole day is structured periods of meditation and chanting, and also many Dhamma talks. So of all of the many hundreds of monks that come, there are many very senior monks. So every day there are a number of those senior monks who are invited to give talks throughout the day, and those talks are broadcast over this this kind of audio system that they've set up these huge speakers all throughout the monastery. The monastery is a very big place, and they have these speakers set up all throughout the monastery so that these thousands of people can hear the monk who's speaking. And so this particular year, Luang Por-Pasanno was visiting Thailand at that time, and they had invited him to give a talk one of the evenings during that week, and particularly in the evenings were kind of like the biggest, the most busy times, because even the people who aren't staying in the monastery would come in the evenings, so there would tend to be the most people for the evening talk, so it was kind of like the main event. And so I remember I had only been ordained for a few years, and I was sitting up on the kind of the raised platform where the monks sit in the main hall, and there were hundreds of monks sitting up there, and just kind of looking out into this sea of lay people. And I was incredibly nervous, just sitting there in front of all these people, and not even actually having to do anything or speak or anything. Even just being around this many people made me incredibly nervous. But then Luang Por-Pasanno was invited up to the front to give this talk, and he goes out in front of everyone and goes up to the tamat, which is like the Dhamma seat that the monks tend to give Dhamma talks from formally in Thailand. It's kind of like a raised seat or raised platform, which resembles kind of like a throne, and it's quite high up in the air. Usually you have to kind of go up a step or two to get into the seat, so you're kind of sitting up above everyone so that everyone can see you. So Luang Por-Pasanno climbs up into the seats, and surrounded by thousands of lay people, and he begins his Dhamma talk, and I was incredibly amazed that his tone of voice, his energy was, seemed exactly the same as if he were just sitting here in Abhayagiri in this small little hall and doing like a Q&A with a few lay people who had come, just like totally relaxed, totally at ease, no self-consciousness at all. And I was kind of stunned by that. And he spoke for about 20 minutes, and then they had kind of requested that he speak in English also, and for the English speakers. So after he finished like his 20-minute Dhamma talk, then he stopped and he just started to translate his whole talk into English. And it wasn't like a kind of a quick summary. It seemed to be like somehow he remembered like everything that he had said, and it was like another 20 minutes of English, and it seemed to be like a pretty perfect translation. And I'm not sure if everyone else was as shocked as I was, but it really moved me quite incredibly. It really hit me very hard, like especially for myself, as somebody who has always been really terrified of public speaking. The idea of being able to get up in front of thousands of people and not have any kind of self-consciousness and be just completely at ease, and to have the mindfulness to be able to translate your own talk. I mean, that kind of seemed otherworldly or kind of superhuman. It seemed like beyond what should be possible for people to do. And for myself, when I reflect on that story, it's one of my favorite stories of Pasanno, because just like the story that I told last time, it's a real example of the power of the practice. For one who has learned how to make the mind peaceful, they can remain unshaken by things that no one else could really patiently, peacefully endure. And the power of somebody who has practiced to that level can allow them to do things that for most ordinary people would be impossible. So I'll offer that for reflection this morning.